My name is Khatija Haque. I'm the Chief Economist and Head of Research at Emirates NBD. I'm delighted to be at the FinTech Summit in Dubai 2024, and I'm especially delighted to be joined by two ESG specialists in the region to do a podcast on development and collaborations between banking and technology in the ESG space. So first of all, I'd like to welcome Ahmed Ashour, who is the Chief Sustainability Officer Commercial for Middle East and Asia for Microsoft, and also Vijay Bains, the Chief Sustainability Officer and Group Head of ESG at Emirates NBD, whom I know very well. So very nice to have you both here. I think perhaps one of the good place to start would be the fact that we are now 6 months post COP28. Emirates NBD has made huge progress in terms of its ESG reporting and measuring. Can you talk us through how you think we've done in terms of progress, and also some of the technology solutions that you have used to get us to where we are?
Khatija, thank you so much. And it's a great pleasure to be here with yourself, Ahmed, as well as all the listeners as well out there. So we have made huge progress as well. So we're the first bank in the region to issue an Ashour TCFD report. Now, I'll explain the acronym right now. That's Task Force for Climate Financial Disclosures. And that details our climate strategy, our ambition, our net zero targets, but also our governance as well. And now governance for climate change has been integrated into our board, our executive committees, as well as our group committees as well, and all of our countries of operation. We've also talked about metrics and targets, and this is where we've really partnered very well with Microsoft and others as well. Because if I was to ask you, Khatija, what are your emissions in a year, you'll say, Vijay, I do not know my emissions. I don't want to tell you about all my flights. I'm sure many of the people out there as well are on the same boat as well. So to give you an example, we have to measure our emissions for our internal operations, so it's 1, 2, and a bit of scope 3, and then finance, so our clients as well. So we've started a campaign to speak to our clients to demystify these terms as well, because we have seen a wave of regulations as well come out. The second part as well is digitizing, because actually asking our clients for Excels all the time, gentle plug to Microsoft as well, great Microsoft product, isn't actually the way we want to go. We want to automate as much as possible, and that's where Microsoft Sustainability Manager becomes absolutely key. And we're now integrating it into our business operation, also asking our clients to report on it as well. And that has grown fantastically well. And the idea here is we want to create an ecosystem for all of our clients to report on their emissions and create a centralized pool so we can actually look at where we can reduce our own emissions, but also as we speak to our corporate clients, where they can get some quick wins as well.
Thanks, Vijay. Ahmed, in terms of the journey that Microsoft has taken to get to the point where you've developed software specifically focused on helping companies track and manage their ESG targets, can you talk us through what, first of all, got you to that point, and then the challenges perhaps that you faced?
Sure. Thank you, Khatija, for having us. And thank you, Vijay, for hosting Microsoft with you in Emirates NBD as part of the FinTech Summit. So our beliefs in the importance of sustainability really goes back more than 10 years now. I think we started very humble by very small reduction target in 2029. And then we slowly built our muscle to understand this area. And we really believe that for any organization to be successful in the future, they really need to understand their footprint, their sustainability, what materials they're using, their supply chain. We cannot really not double click on all these details if we really want to be there in the future. And we're seeing a lot of trend also in the investment area that this is the way that any company is being evaluated is, are you transparent? Are you really showing your full supply chain and so on or not? So we slowly developed our sustainability muscle. And then we reached a stage by 2020 where we managed to really have a very bold commitment and not a pledge anymore. And we decided that we are committing that by 2030, we would be carbon negative, water positive, as well as a zero carbon, zero waste company. We followed that we also want to commit that by 2050, we would remove as much carbon from the planet as much as Microsoft actually emitted since our inception. Of course, that would be leveraging a lot of carbon capturing technologies. So based on that, we started having a governance and an annual report that we produce to actually measure where do we stand from these commitments. So it's very critical for organizations to have a clear commitment, but you cannot really achieve that commitment without having measurements and key areas and key governance for that. And throughout that 10 years, we've learned a number of things. We've learned that there are big gaps in the market. We were challenged as customer zero. And we found that customers are coming to us and saying, Microsoft, you're on this journey, you're committing all of that. How are you going to do it? So we saw that the need is there. And from there, I think around 3 years ago, we decided that, you know what, this is a bigger problem. And it's a problem that touches one of the most challenging problems for humanity, which is the climate change. So why don't we step it? We need someone who can be the common data model that enables both all our customers, all our vendors, all our technology partners to have a common data model so that we can have all this data, because it's very clear. If we're not able to measure where do we stand today from an emission, there's no way we will be able to even improve. So we need to help our customers in being able to get a baseline and then be able to have real-time, almost real-time data on how are they progressing. And then add to that, the moment you have data in one area, you can add machine learning into that and artificial intelligence, and then you unleash a whole potential of other possibilities.
I mean, that is an opening, I guess, for a whole other question, which is if you are looking at this massive data set and the data is kind of all spread out, you've obviously got to develop software that can aggregate everything and then interpret this. And then, you know, you mentioned in the panel just before the use of AI going forward. That in itself is going to be a huge requirement in terms of energy consumption. I mean, how do you square that circle? And it's not just a Microsoft issue, it's not just a UAE issue, but this is going to be a global phenomenon. I mean, where is all the energy going to come from to power this AI advance?
Yeah. And look, I think I highlighted that as part of the panel as one of the things that we really focused on, because AI is newly now being introduced as a consumer product. And we're seeing that it's going to be there. It's going to be in the self-driving. It's going to be there in the production of new vaccines. It's going to be there in the education. I mean, the industries are unlimited where AI will be leveraged. So it's for sure going to be there. And maybe the need will even increase. So it's critical for us to work with our supply chain when it comes to hardware innovation, microprocessors, cooling technologies, data centers being developed under the sea so that we leverage better cooling, taking the heat and actually using it into cold countries so that we can disperse that heat to in a positive way. So looking at new areas where we can still deliver more digital but with less carbon footprint is a very, very important area for us now. And it's something that we will definitely highlight in our next sustainability report that's coming next month.
Thank you. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how all that evolves. It just seems like a really big area where there's a huge amount of change potentially. Banks obviously have the resources to invest in ESG, in the measuring, and obviously in the technology to support them in achieving their goals. How are you finding, well, perhaps Vijay, in the first instance, how is the bank supporting its clients, our clients, to come up with an ESG strategy, you know, measure it, and then achieve some of the goals? And are there incentives that we can offer as a bank to encourage them to do that? And are there sticks that we can use or penalties that we can impose if they don't?
Thanks so much. That's a great question. I think, first of all, as well, we're looking at walk the walk and talk the talk. So similar to Microsoft, most of our missions internally actually come from IT and technology. So we really reflected and thought, how can we do this? Do we offset, or do we actually invest in more renewable energy? And that's what we've done up front in our procurement supply chain. Microsoft, similarly, are kind of one of the biggest buyers of renewable energy in the world as well. So we bought something called renewable energy certificates for our data centers, so we're guaranteed there's a clean energy. So that reduces our by about 50% internally. Now, in terms of incentives for clients, this is the most common question, i.e. for our corporate clients, what incentives can you give us? We do give incentives as well. We tie them to actual material KPIs for sustainability as well. So if you're already reducing your emissions by 10%, we can't say reduce them by 5%. They need to be kind of additional as well, also achievable. We have a responsibility to our corporate and retail clients as well to give them the right product mix as well. And so we kind of carefully tailor the sustainability KPIs and products to whatever the client kind of needs as well. also, coming back to your early point, we've also acted as an advisor. And that's where we really kind of had the ESG team and sustainable finance coordination team to help our large corporates and also multinationals and large SMEs as well to develop a high-level sustainability strategy aligned to net zero targets, also to benchmark sustainable and governance goals as well, because actually that's a key part of ESG. And we also talk about our own journey as well. And actually that's a really great exchange because a lot of organizations are really nervous on what's their sustainability journey, what have we done so far? So we do a gap assessment, and actually we find generally most organizations are 50% aligned to the ESG goals that are kind of benchmarking. So that's fantastic as well. And the final area then is kind of doing a bit of benchmarking. So industry by industry, showing market leaders, but also explaining how this links to sustainable finance as well.
Ahmed, how have you seen the take-up amongst non-financial institutions in the region when it comes to some of the technologies that you can offer in the ESG side?
So it's been interesting, honestly, because we're seeing a new trend. We know that regulation is going to drive a lot of customers to adopt ESG. We're seeing the mandate of the CSRD that's going to be very soon coming into the European Union, going to impact European Union, but it's also going to impact all the supply chain supplying into the EU. So many companies now we're seeing that they're starting to wonder, especially the companies that even in this region that are porting into the EU, saying we need to work on this. But that's one maybe pillar of customers. We're seeing also a new, more forward-looking customers looking at ESG as a much more important tool for us to build strategies, to foresee the future, to do climate risk, and like Emirates NBD, very visionary in terms of ESG is not just about me complying with my sustainability reporting and with my regulatory. We will do that. But I actually want the information. I want to have real-time information because I'm going to base my investments, my resources. I'm going to position my company into the market based on the ESG. We're seeing a lot of trend also in the new generation that they look into commodities that are more ESG friendly, better. So all the new generation, even from an employment, companies that are disclosing and are transparent, people want to work for them. And that's a trend that's working. So many companies are looking that this is a competitive advantage for me as in the market, but as well as an employer. So we're seeing people look at ESG from a completely different way, honestly. The last one is actually some of the customers came to us and they're looking at ESG to uniquely position them as in their industry, in their products. I mean, it's still early discussion, so I'm not going to be able to mention the specific industry or customer. But we're looking at customers look at it at that this is not about regulatory. This is an opportunity. Actually, based on a study from McKinsey, the by 2030, the opportunity of ESG collectively across the globe is a $5 billion opportunity on an annual basis. So that's something that I think every organization in every industry, whatever it is, they need to look into this. How am I going to have new products leveraging the ESG? How am I going to create new services that will help me address this? So I'm actually helping the climate change, helping the sustainability, helping the reduction of carbon, but coming up with also new ideas.
So when you say $5 trillion opportunity, is this in terms of developing products to help other companies progress with their ESG goals, or is it?
That's one area, but other areas is, we're looking at countries now with clear carbon reduction commitments. But how are they going to do it? So there is a lot of innovation that is needed to help them do that. You touched about the area of how AI is leveraging a lot of energy. So that means that there's a lot of new innovation needed also to actually deliver AI at a much lower cost. So I think rethinking many things that we've been taking for granted is very critical, because that's what's going to change how we leverage emissions in the future.
In terms of the sorts of products and solutions that you, as Microsoft, can offer your clients, in the panel you mentioned specifically supply chain management and clean energy solutions. Can you talk through a little bit more about what those solutions actually involve?
So what we're developing is a suite of products called the Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability. And it's to address sustainability in a number of areas. So one very important area is we are one of the largest suppliers to our customers. through our cloud services. So we offer Azure, which is the main platform that everyone is hosting their data on. We offer Office 365, which is the whole productivity. We offer Copilot, which is the ChatGPT from Microsoft, as well as business application and Dynamics. But we also sell a lot of hardware, which is Surface hardware. So when we're the scope 3 of customers, we need to deliver the transparency to our customers when it comes to emissions. So that's one of the things that we deliver as part of that suite, which is called the Emission Impact Dashboard. So any Microsoft customer today, if your whole tech services is on Microsoft Cloud, you're done with your technology footprint. You have that covered. You have real-time data on all the emissions coming out of every single data set that you have. So that's one area. The second area is the area that maybe we touched base more about here, which is the Microsoft Sustainability Manager we partner with Emirates NBD on, which is how to enable you have this common data model for environment, social, and governance. And then the last one is really related to the carbon credit and carbon trading, which is big area. And I think you mentioned something about the greenwashing. It's a big area that requires a lot of technology to help us verify, have more transparency, have more trust in that area of market, because it's really a very unregulated area still. So these three areas is where we're really focused to deliver full value for our customers.
Amazing. Vijay, can I ask you a little bit on the S and the G part of ESG? Because coming from a region which is very energy intensive, very hydrocarbon intensive, I think sometimes both consumers and businesses lose sight of the fact that ESG is not just about how much oil you consume. It's also about the way that you support your workforce and build out diversity, and also the governance infrastructure that you put in place for your own company, and also monitoring what's happening in your clients as well. How is the bank tackling those two issues?
So I think I'll talk about an internal and our external strategy. So I think for internal, we've set a 25% gender target for our senior leadership by 2027. We're about 18.1%, which is going really, really well. Our clients ask about this as well and say, what's your gender and diversity targets? Also, within the group, we have a diversity and inclusion department created within HR as well to look at all of our diversity metrics and targets as well, to look at our strategy in a lot of detail as well. And we have got quite an advanced strategy there as well. If I flip to our clients, actually, it's one of the key metrics of sustainable finance. So a lot of our clients think, actually, we're going to ask them for a net zero target. Actually, one of those material targets are gender targets, supply chain, integrating Modern Slavery Act as well. So we integrate Modern Slavery Act within our HR, within our operations, as well as in our financing as well across the group. And we're also asking our own clients' supply chain to do the same as well. So that's absolutely key. Now, we are finding more interest in the region around sustainable finance related to S&G as well. And also, we're looking to improve our disclosures for ESG rating agencies as well. And I'll do a general plug as well for us. So we're really happy. So one of the top ESG rating agencies, Sustainalytics, which exactly looks at more strategy and governance, ranked us as one of the highest in EMEA. I won't mention the other banks, but we made tremendous progress there as well. And a lot of our clients are interested in it because actually that goes into corporate financing, because our due diligence process uses ESG rating agencies as well. So that's really, really a great discourse to kind of have. Now, in regards to governance, it's looking at where we can improve our corporate governance, and our corporate governance, corporate affairs and legal team does a fantastic job there. But part of it is explaining it in a language that ESG rating agencies and regulators understand as well. And that's been 50% of my job role in last year, has been saying, we're already doing this, actually let's disclose it. The second part has been saying, okay, where can we actually improve and kind of tighten some areas as well? So integrating those social checks has been something we've been doing, and now we're expanding as well. The final part is financial inclusion as well. So actually financial inclusion in the region is incredibly important, and we've really focused on that as well, to look at what's the most financial inclusive products we can do, what's the charges. We've actually just kicked off a financial inclusive campaign as well for workers who don't have those access to banking services, and looking at our own strategy to say, how can we expand banking services? And finally, we're talking to all of our partners as well, from technology firms to other financial service firms to regulators as well, and say, how can we improve access to financial services in the market? How can we look at charges also education as well about good banking practices as well through the whole value chain. So we're looking at a youth campaign. We're also looking at a campaign for slightly older citizens as well on financial wellness as well. So we're enhancing our product suite. We're improving our disclosures, gentle plug to the ESG rating from Sustainalytics again, and then also looking at which members of society are accessing our services as well, and really putting a lens on ourselves to say, we can improve here, or actually we've already got this. Maybe we need to advertise and speak about that a lot more. And that's been 50% of what we've done.
I think that's an amazing focus, actually, because as you say, the S part sometimes is entirely on gender, diversity or ethnic diversity, but doesn't really look at the services that we provide our customers and which customers may or may not be able to access those services. From a Microsoft point of view, Ahmed, how do you guys look at S&G? How do you measure the social and the governance part of ESG?
So, I mean, we've had framework internally within our HR based across the S&G, even though the environmental part is being taken care of separately. But our focus is really on how can we deliver commercial solutions for our customers to help them on that journey. And I think one of the area, I think you mentioned that people, when I look at the S&G, they don't really understand what is it, or is it just diversity? So I think skilling is a very critical thing. I think that's a role that we've been playing a very big role in. We've launched our Sustainability Academy that runs around 3 times annually, free of charge on LinkedIn, to make sure that we're actually spreading the knowledge. Because while we're developing the technology, I think it's very critical that people understand what is sustainability and how can I look at sustainability from an opportunity? What is ESG? What is really needs to be measured in the S&G? Many organizations are really seeking more information. So I think it's that we do have also a role into helping others learn on that.
Thank you. In terms of the outlook for the next 3 to 5 years, and we already know that the change is going to be significant in terms of the technology that's available and how it's applied to banks and other companies as well. Vijay, where do you see Emirates NBD's ESG journey over the next 3 to 5 years? What would you like to see at the end of 5 years?
I think for me, the ESG isn't a term as such, but it's integrated into all our job roles. When we were speaking on the panel earlier to say, we don't talk about e-banking or digital banking. I do because I'm quite old. Actually, we talk about banking. Digital is spread into every part of banking. Within Emirates NBD, 97% of our customers use digital channels. So for me, I want sustainability to be integrated in everything we do, and it become something BAU as well. That's my big ambition. I think the second one is sustainable finance to grow. As Ahmed said, we're seeing that $1 trillion opportunity growing all the time. And actually, if we have a look at the bond market, for example, 25% of all bonds are green bonds now. That's a fantastic journey from about 7% 4 years ago. And that sees no sign of abating. So for me, the green bond market growing, sustainability loan market also growing, but also the quality of those loans as well, to say they're material and ambitious as well. And that's one of the things that we really partner and advise our clients to say, actually, we think you can be ambitious here. This is really material because actually, as Ahmed said, we don't want to, the regulations are great, but you should already kind of be there as well. And I think that's the second point. For me as well, on reporting disclosure, it should become BAU. It shouldn't be something which takes a quarter. It should be something we do every month, and then we report on it externally. And I think the third area is ESG acronyms. Now, we've spoken about a few as well today. It's always quite challenging, but for actually those to be mainstream, because there's about 50 ways to describe GHG emissions. Actually, just say GHG emissions or water use. So there's about 20 different standards a bank has to report on. So I'd love us to create a common data set with our partner Microsoft. There you go, Jenna plug as well, for that, because actually that's what our customers and clients are asking for as well. So that we're not sending thousands of pages of contracts and reports every month. So actually a centralized data source is my big ask. And finally, AI. I really think there's a really great benefit for AI. One, in looking at data sets. So rather than going to report, actually typing a question to a conversational AI, I love that to be integrated into ESG on our website, also for our customer channels as well, so they can understand our ambition. And finally, in kind of climate risk as well, so that we can do forward assessments. And we haven't spoken about it at the moment, but climate change is now here. We're now at the mitigation and adaptation phase. AI can really help us on that journey as well.
Ahmed, what is your wish list, I guess, for the next 3 to 5 years, or where do you think Microsoft would be in 3 to 5 years in terms of what they can offer their clients and also as an institution?
No, I think I would start with the last point that Vijay mentioned, which is climate change. I think it's been an interesting year. I mean, it's not every single week today you open TV and you're seeing flooding, forests. Climate change is real, and the change is not linear. It's very fast. It's moving very quickly, and I don't think we are moving as quick to be able to address that. So I think there's a lot of pledges, but what I would love to see definitely in the next 5 years is that we're able to reach a level where we help institutions and governments to really understand their current emissions, because you cannot really commit on any reduction if you don't know what are you emitting today. If we reach a level where we have a baseline and then develop a plan that we can deliver on that commitment, I think that would be great. That's something that, as I mentioned before in the panel, Microsoft did. I mean, we baseline our emission. We represent 0.05 from all the emission of the planet. And we're on a journey to remove that completely by 2030. So I would love that we can enable all our customers and governments to be on the same trajectory of journey, really address one of the most challenging challenges for human race that we will ever face. And then lastly, of course, we believe that AI is going to play a large role in that, because it is a critical problem, and we will definitely require AI once we have all this vast amount of data to be able to navigate and understand where we need to focus to have impact, because there's so much to focus on. But where would you have the maximum impact with the least effort? I think that's what's going to be very critical for us to reach very positive steps in the next 3, 4, or 5 years.
Thank you. I mean, it sounds like there's tremendous opportunity and a lot of exciting developments to look forward to. I just wanted to thank both of you for coming into the podcast studio, which is, I think, the first time we've had a podcast studio at the FinTech Summit, and sharing your views on ESG and how far we've come and where we're going to go. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much.